No.
We just want to question him why he skipped some stakeholders.
Chair,
is he allergic to UPC? UPC is not.
Can we have Honorable Fox?
Chair, just take this. Just take this procedure.
Okay, Honorable Dude.
Chair, on page 2 of the presentation by the Attorney General, the joint statement, it says, we refer to the letter of the chairperson of Parliamentary Committee on Defense and Internal Affairs dated 29th April 2026, forwarding legal issues raised by the stakeholders. Up to the end, I don't want to waste time there. But Chair, my point is, at what point are you going to forward my letter? Because this is the letter of the chairperson. We never sat and agreed on the issues to be sent. The issues raised. So I'm asking on behalf of all the members, at what point are we at liberty now to write individually? Because this is a joint committee, but the chairperson defense wrote alone. Forwarding his issues. The legal committee chairperson has not yet written. The members of parliament have not yet written. So the Attorney General has responded, which is still good, on the letter written by defense. Now we are asking, at what point are we going to write now to the Attorney General to jointly answer the concerns of the committee, given this massacre?
Let me respond. Stakeholders, the other day you didn't attend that meeting. We said here, on Tuesday in the evening, we said the Secretariat should do a matrix of the issues. And those issues should be prepared and referred to the Honorable Land Attorney General. And those issues have been shared on our forums.
No. Honorable Chair, I will
they have been
protest
shared
because I was present in that meeting throughout.
Honorable Chair, maybe
there was no
Can we have the Attorney General say
maybe
something?
a matter of procedure. Can we be excused so the committee can deliberate on its internal matters? And then when at another time when you're ready, if we are available, we can come back. Because even if we don't come back, you'll have to make a decision.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chair,
that is the proposal of the Honorable
Stakeholder engagements. It appeared to me that in drafting this bill, there was no consultation, even within government. And I pull out 3, maybe 2 departments of government that came and submitted rejecting this bill or proposing withdrawal and substantial amendment. The governor of Bank of Uganda and his deputy and another appeared here and took us through the economic consequences of this bill and painted a very grave negative consequence of even attempting to move with this bill. The Uganda Human Rights Commission, a statutory body, appeared here and made submissions, first confirming they were never consulted, but also rejecting the bill. There are also other credible stakeholders, including the Financial Intelligence Authority, appeared here. These are government agencies. Let me limit to those 3. In their submission, they opposed this bill and thought that if they were consulted within government, they would have clarified and helped government better. I want to ask you, within these 3 days and with these proposed amendments, did you consult within government those entities, for example, Bank of Uganda? Did you go back to them so that even these amendments you are proposing, we are sure has addressed their concern? And I'm raising this because, Learned Attorney General, throughout this process, we have been giving the legal lenses to this bill. But the stakeholders brought to us an economic lens. They brought for us a medical lens, Uganda Medical Association. The International Association of Chamber of Commerce, something like that, the British, American, brought for us an international perspective in terms of trade. I have seen you have tried to just exempt, because they appeared here, exempt. Bank of Uganda, for example, and the Uganda Bankers Association, they are also stakeholders that they trade, but they are also in the middle of the foreign agent and government. What you seem to have addressed here is that we have allowed them, if they are bringing, say, meeting capital requirements, let banks go on, so they are exempted. How about their role as an intermediary? That the bank has already, for example, observed that so and so has received more than 400. What is that bank required to do in the circumstance? So, without going to that, I want you to confirm, did you make consultations, and can you put on record the key stakeholders that you have met which guided these amendments that you have proposed here? Thank you.
I have a very fundamental problem with the structure of this entire bill now, especially in light of the fact that the amendments are silent on the punishments, the severity of the punishments. And you recall, because Learned Attorney General, Senior Counsel Chiriowa Chiwanuka Nsumikambi, when he was giving background, he said, you've listened to the stakeholders. And one of the issues that was raised by the stakeholders was the nature of the punishments. And the amendments are very silent on them, both the custodial and the fines. Number two, Chairperson, when you look at the provisions that establish offenses, with the greatest respect, Learned Attorney General, they are too broad and imprecise to be penal provisions. For example, look at page 11. I'll begin from page 10. Page 10, you say foreign policy means a policy developed by a foreigner and has not been adopted by government. So now the question comes, what then is policy? Go to page 11. Interests of Uganda means the national interests of Uganda based on the principles of national interest and common good enshrined in the national objectives and directive principles of state policy as provided for in the Constitution, laws of Uganda, and government policy. Learned Attorney General, when I work against the interests of Uganda, I am committing an offense under this law. But you are defining interests of Uganda in a very broad manner. Very broad, very elastic. How can that be a penal provision? And how does it not really run foul to the Constitution in terms of clarity of offense? Chair, I go to political activities, again on page 11. You are in effect killing activities of political parties, in effect. Because you are saying political activities means an activity aimed at influencing the enactment of legislation, formulation of policy, or decision-making of government or the people of Uganda. And this in itself, Learned Attorney General, is problematic. What is wrong with influencing enactment of legislation? What is wrong with that? What is criminal with that? What is criminal with influencing policy? Formulation of policy or decision making. What is criminal with that? Now, you are talking about under page 11, political activities. I want you to look at how you describe political activities from beginning to the end. In effect, this is a multi-party side. You are killing multi-partyism, political parties, in effect. when you look at it, and even in NRM will be swallowed in this in the future. So I also find your definition and description of political activities very broad, and they run counter to the spirit of multipartyism. Chair, application, page 12. Wouldn't it be proper, learned Attorney General, for you to specifically state who really this act applies to? Who? Because when you are talking about the application, you give activities and the like. Who is amenable under what? Who is under the purview of this bill? Are NGOs involved or not? Are churches involved or not? Are mosques involved or not? In specific terms, on application. Chair, you go to page 23, clause 13, prohibition of economic sabotage. Again, an attempt by my longtime friend, the Minister for Internal Affairs, to rephrase creates a bigger problem. And I want to continue alluding to this. Learned Attorney General, this is a penal piece of legislation. Penal. And when you look at this, the impreciseness, the broadness, makes it very problematic. You are talking about a person who publishes false information. Now, who determines what is false and not? You are talking about activity that weakens. What is to weaken? What is to undermine? What is to weaken? What is to undermine?
Information.
And you are talking about economic system of viability. What are they? What are they? Realistically speaking, we are talking about a penal provision. And it is these provisions that are going to be subject of abuse, especially by law enforcement. So I would rather, Learned Attorney General, that in making these statements, let us be very specific, let us be precise. Chair, I would seek at least a comment from the Learned Attorney General. You talk about registration of an agent. Registration of an agent. What rights do I get by being registered? Because there are prohibitions here. This bill is creating prohibitions. It's creating crimes. But then there is also a requirement to register. What does it mean? If I register, do I now qualify to engage in these activities? Is that the implication? What ideally is the objective of registration? Because ideally there are prohibitions here. Crimes are being established under this piece of legislation. Finally, Chair, on page 29, declaration of sources of funding. There are two issues. Number one, on 21 and 22, Learned Attorney General. Number one, when and at what stage do I make the declaration? When and at what stage do I make the declaration? Number two, if there are, because in clause 21.1, you make reference to the Anti-Money Laundering Act. And the issues to do with declaration and source of funding, in your own view, but also in the presentations we received, are matters that can easily be covered under the Anti-Money Laundering Act. Learned Attorney General, don't you think will be engaging in double reporting, which in effect will be onerous for anybody receiving money, and then you are requiring them to declare under the Financial Intelligence Authority, then here under the ministry, and the like. Chair, those are my concerns as of now.
It is largely creating offenses for either undermining a government policy, criticizing, and the like. And from the little law I have studied and I know, what cannot be a defense is ignorance of the law. But it now looks like ignorance of a government policy is becoming a crime. Is there any law in this land of ours providing for development of a government policy and its publication for the knowledge of all Ugandans that this is a particular government policy for everyone to know? Because it looks like under this proposed bill, ignorance of a government policy, however, nobody knows how it comes up, becomes a crime. That's one. Two, I want the Attorney General to confirm to us that the functions and services of government under 6th schedule, be it on environment, be it in elections, be it in education, where Parliament has made an act of Parliament under any of these schedules, are exempted from this particular bill. If Parliament has made a law under any of the functions under 6th schedule, whatever is done under that act is exempted under this proposed bill. Lastly, from me, I have looked at the response from the Attorney General, especially in the matrix. The issue of constitutionality still remains vague from the response. Because when you look at Article 1, what is sovereign are the people of Uganda. But this particular bill, when you look at it, there is nothing in it that touches the sovereignty of the people of Uganda. What actually this bill is about is the protection of the state. Would you mind if you even changed the title from the protection of sovereignty bill to the protection of the state authority bill? And in view of your proposed amendments, would you even mind if you changed the memorandum? Because when you look at the memorandum as is and your proposed amendments, you fundamentally go against the memorandum itself. Would you consider withdrawing this bill, coming up with a proper one that will rhyme with your proposed amendments and my proposed title of protection of the state authority, but not sovereignty bill?
With this bill, can you, the mover or yourself, can you wait for 1 month, for example, or 2 months? Would there be something really between 1 to 2 weeks that?
No, for us, we are cabinet. It goes through cabinet, it comes here. If we thought that there was something fundamental, we'll take it back to cabinet. But we don't think there's anything fundamental.
Is cabinet still sitting, for example?
The last time I checked, we are
sitting, and it's going to sit next week.
Mr. Honorable Odu, you want to take us out quickly?
Chair, thank you.